Panda Watch. Wait, no. Giddey Watch. What up, Bulls Nation? We got a live CHGO Bulls coming up for y'all right around the corner. On today's show, Brett Seigel with the latest reporting. Are the Bulls and Josh Giddey close to finally inking a deal? We will talk about that. Plus, did Rick Carlisle just say something on a podcast recently that made AK sound smart? We'll discuss it next. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls podcast. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Day. Bow. BAWL Sports. Will the Go Gottlieb, perfectly coiffed. As always, Will_Gottlieb. And the queen of the controls, add to the list, movie she's never seen, Anchorman. Get it, Abby.
Panda Watch.
Wow, 1 and 2. Oh, man.
2. Don't worry about it.
No, watch 2.
In Kay's defense,
I think I've seen Anchorman.
she's probably seen it. I'm maybe giving her too much defense here, but like, just because she has seen it doesn't mean that she's memorized every single line. You guys are so good.
Yeah,
I don't think
no.
you guys realize that you are in like the 99th percentile of retaining lines from movies.
I'm
It's
actually
impressive.
pretty positive that I've seen it.
Yeah.
Because I remember many scenes from it.
I mean, it's like
Give us a scene.
it's one of the most iconic lines spoken by Paul Rudd in his entire filmography.
Give me
and
one
I
scene.
remember finishing it and feeling disgusted that everybody like loves that movie because I was like, that was horrible.
That's a bad take.
And so,
Awful
defend that.
take.
No, go get your
I
defense
can't
on.
defend that.
Awful take.
Get
I will
your
say
defense on.
one of my
bro.
favorite Paul Rudd lines is, I think it's from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he like is in the bar and he like sees Jason Segel's character again for like the second time. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're that guy from Kaiser Permanente."
What? No, man. You gave me a
God.
surfing lesson earlier.
So funny.
Hey, look, man. If you get attacked by a shark, are you gonna quit surfing?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
That's what
That's a very slept over.
Life hands you lemons. Just say F the lemons and bail. What up, Flip Side,
Fun
Paul,
London.
Mrs. Strick, everybody hanging out in the chat. We are here on a Wednesday
Inside
afternoon.
of you.
And we
The jail.
just went from 6 to midnight. Okay.
With 60, yes. Jonah Hill, shout out.
We
Oh, man.
have a Josh Giddey contract negotiation report to talk about. So let's dive right into it. Katie, if you will. This came from Brett Seigel of Clutch Sports just yesterday. According to Clutch Sports NBA insider Seigel, Bulls and Giddey are coming close to an agreement. Josh Giddey and the Bulls are expected to reach a resolution on a new contract, likely in the 3-year range by the end of August. That's this month. The Bulls could increase their offer, but they have stood firm on keeping a new deal in the $20 million average annual value range. The latest speculation from agents not involved in negotiations suggests something in the $65 million to $70 million range. So, Brett Seigel, Clutch Points, with that report. So, like, at first I saw this, I was like, oh my God, are we finally getting close? There are parts of this that have kind of already been reported, I feel. Like, KC mentioned on a recent thing of his fast break that, like, we could see a 3-year deal. We were talking about the possibility of a 3-year deal on one of our shows last week because it was, whispers like that were going around. We've heard before the Bulls are more comfortable closer to 20 as opposed to Josh Giddey and his people who are trying to get 30. So, like, a lot of this kind of sounds similar. The part that's different is they're close.
Yeah. And it could happen this month. And they actually give a date. And like towards the end of this month of August.
Which, like, I'm like, oh, there's still like 3+ more weeks of
Yeah.
August.
If
this happens on August 30th, I'm going to be pissed.
See,
Let's get it done.
I guess it's funny because it's one thing with us sitting here saying that's when we think it is going to happen. And it's another thing, and shout out to the writers, shout out Will Gottlieb, when you see it in writing and someone has put it down and someone, that has respect within the industry. Again, shout out Will Gottlieb. So when you see those things, and that adds some validity to it. And you can take from it what you want because it's still, a rumor, it's, speculation, it's all those kind of things. But just seeing that, though, in print, and it's around the kind of number and figure that you and I were like, well, yeah, we'd be quite comfortable, with this. And it's a little less than what I was willing to even go as high as, because my limit was 25. Actually, my limit started at 28. And then when everything came out, I'm like, well, 25 is the max.
Katie asked us point blank on one of our shows last week, all right, where would it be? And I said 3 years 70, and you said 3 years 75.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is saying 65 to 70.
Yeah, and I was like, I can be talked into another year and stuff like that. But man, that's kind of right where we kind of wanted it and thought to be.
Spot.
I thought it was a nice spot. I talked to Will Gottlieb.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, one, it wouldn't surprise me if a deal gets done this month just because it's already dragged out so long. And once you're in September, that's when training camp starts. Yeah. That's when, technically it's media day is kind of the end of the month, but teams are going to be going, I believe, to Miami again for a players only type of training camp. They're going to be in the building. So it wouldn't surprise me that there's sort of the phrase that deals get done on deadlines because they have to. Mm-hmm. And so there's that pressure there. And I think the closer you get to that of the season starting, both sides are going to want to get something done. I don't know what you guys would think about the shorter term contract. For me, I feel like there's not a ton of upside in a 3-year deal for a couple of different reasons.
A ton of upside for whom?
For the Bulls.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. Because, you look at the 3-year deals that they've signed previously for Kobe and Ayo, where they've really overperformed those deals and now are not going to be able to sign the extension sign extensions off of them. And so the Bulls are either going to be forced to trade them or have to let them become unrestricted free agents. And I would not want the Bulls to run into that situation again with Giddey, where they get him to take a team-friendly number, but then he overplays it, and in 3 years he's a free agent, and there's no way that they can retain him. And so for me, the upside on the deal is always going to be on the out years, meaning the longer the deal is, the more the salary cap rises, the smaller the number is as a percentage of the salary cap in the fourth and fifth or third, fourth, and fifth potentially years of that deal. And so the shorter it is, I think the higher percentage of the cap it's going to be, which means it's less valuable. 2, you have less team control. And I think if you are worried about the downside of him being a pumpkin and just not being a good player, being stuck with him for 3 years versus 5 years, I'd rather take the risk to try to get the upside on the out years than take the risk of potentially losing him and not being able to retain him because you wanted to do something shorter. Now, I also think that there's some downside to a 5-year deal, even if you do get him on a team-friendly number. For example, what we're seeing with Patrick.
I was going to say, parentheses, Patrick Williams.
Which is, he basically didn't play well at all this year, and so now they're stuck with him. And instead of being stuck with him for 3 years, they're stuck with him for 5. So to combat that, they should be looking at team option instead of player option. Maybe you get a team option on the 4th and the 5th year. But to me, I would rather pay up a little bit more to get in that security. And I'm not talking about $28 or $30 million. I'm talking about $22.5 or $23 million. Because again, they have all the leverage in the world. Nobody else is giving him an offer. Nobody else is coming in with restricted free agency or a sign and trade. They can get a longer term deal. And I understand that Giddey would want to get what he wants, but the fact of the matter is the Bulls have control here. And so why not try to get him on an extremely team friendly deal at a very team friendly number and try to get the best of both worlds because they have the leverage to do so.
That's very interesting. And I think you just made some excellent points there. Let me ask you this. I think the Bulls and kind of how they're operating is we've tried 2 5-year deals previously, and we've been burned on both of those deals. The Zach LaVine one, even though you said they got back some good stuff for him, but they still had to wait a year before they could do anything with him. You know what I mean? So they still kind of got burned on that a little bit. And, of course, you mentioned Patrick Williams, of course, in that deal. And so going into this one where they feel like they have leverage again, and they're like, okay, why would we do the same thing we did twice before and it didn't work out for us? We want to have at least some kind of leverage, at that point. But I guess my question to you is, if it goes 5, what is comfortable for you that the Bulls can have a nice those last 2 years don't, necessarily hurt them more. Because usually in those contracts I've seen signed, those last two is when guys really get that money in those last 2 seasons. So what could the Bulls do to where they're like, okay, these last 2, we'll give you those 5 years, but maybe it's a team option on it, or maybe it's a front-loaded contract or something like that. What is something?
Yeah, I'd be looking at. I think that's a great point. Like either front-loaded deal where the money is coming in early, a flat contract where it's effectively a descending contract where, as a percentage of the cap, it goes down every year. That's probably my most preferred, because that way you still hold the ability to extend him at a reasonable number, and then like. They could do something like similar to what the Pelicans did with Zion Williamson, which is like give him incentives or guarantees. Like if they could get a team option on the final 2 years, I would feel fine about giving him $25 million a year. I think that's an unnecessary number just considering the context right now. But like if you could basically make him an offer that was $75 million guaranteed for 3 years, and then a 4th-year team option at 25 and a 5th-year team option at 25, you have so much control where if you do decide to trade him, like a team can get off of that if they want to, or if you don't, like you still, if he outplays it and he plays incredible, then they still have the ability to pick up that team option and play and have him on a value contract, or they can do him a solid then, opt him out of that and renegotiate and extend off of that to get him on a more palatable contract for him and what he's worth. Okay. And so I think that just gives them control to like manage their own cap sheet in a way that they really haven't been able to do, except for the Lonzo Ball contract, which turned out to be a really team-friendly deal and allowed them to get another rotation player that I think they feel really good about. So to me, like those team options would be getting, especially if you get the 4th and a 5th year, that's a pretty rare thing. Like you don't see that very often. But for me, that's like worth paying a little bit more for, giving him that guaranteed money on the first 3 years, but also then having that team control where you can either re-sign him, trade him, or just get off of him if you're done. The other thing I'll say about the 3-year deal is like, if he stinks and like is no good, you're still stuck with him for 3 years, whether it's 3 or 5, it doesn't really matter. You're still stuck with him. And I'd almost rather have him take the qualifying offer than be stuck with him on a bad contract for 3 years, because then you can move on tomorrow and just take the sunk cost, but at least you're like able to move on immediately. Whereas what we're seeing with Patrick is they're stuck with him now for 4 more years. The more of those guys that you have on your contract, where you have like multiple high teens, mid 20s contracts that you're stuck with, like now you're out of flexibility. And so I'd almost rather have this year, figure out if he's good or not, feel more comfortable paying him more because at least he played well throughout the course of the season, or feel okay with just letting him walk altogether and really truly resetting things around Modis and Noah and whoever you get in next year's draft. So for me, the flexibility doesn't come with the 3-year contract.
The figuring out if he's good or not part is also kind of tricky if you're like, can we figure that out in 1 year? Because they got 1 year look at him, but the first half of that, Zach LaVine was here putting up buckets, and then Josh became more involved after the Zach trade. Yeah. And then even still, if Giddey puts up numbers in his box score next season, something between his full season numbers from last year and his post-All-Star break went bananas numbers, that'll look like a good player. How many wins do the Bulls have, and how big of a reason for those wins is Josh Giddey?
That's a great question.
The other thing that you were talking about, go with Kobe outperforming his contract, Ayo outperforming his contract, and now having to pay these guys way more to keep them around for this team that's kind of middling, and then the same thing maybe happening with Giddey on a 3-year deal. It's like you're going down a rabbit hole of some mediocre stuff. But hold on. That's the front half of a point. There's another back half of that point involving somebody in the comments that I want to get to right after this quick break. Hit the like button for Katie while you listen to some ads. Surprise.
Panda Watch? Certain rules in life, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch the back of Matt Peck. Hit the like button or Katie will slash you. Give me a hug, but don't touch me. And always, Don't get biffed, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get biffed. Do not go to that big box store, run into the 16-year-old who knows nothing about anything, and he's trying to tell you about flooring. Don't do it. Get that shop at home convenience you can only get from Empire Today. They get that clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. You can schedule a free in-home estimate when? Today. Because some things are just better at home. Mikasa, CHGO listeners can receive a $350 discount when using that promo code CHGO. You heard me right. $350 discount with the promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/CHGO for full details.
800-588-2300 Empire Today.
Today's show also brought to you by Arena Club. Are you looking to buy, sell, trade, or rip open packs of cards? Arena Club is changing the hobby with their transparent slab packs and no-fee auctions. You got to check out these slab packs, y'all. Arena Club makes it easy to collect the cards you love. Get authentic, graded cards instantly on Arena Club. You decide. You can hold, sell, or have it shipped to you directly. With slab packs, you could rip open a pack for as low as $25 and hit on a card that's worth tens of thousands. Arena Club is the most trusted name in the game. With every slab pack, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value, or you can hold on to it, keep it in your showroom. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/CHGO and use promo code CHGO. That's arenaclub.com/CHGO, promo code CHGO. Arena Club, rip 'em. We roll along CHGO Bulls live here on Wednesday. Shout out to Pat Norton for that incredible rendition.
Patty Pipes.
Patty Pipes. That's what I'm calling him.
I thought
from
we were
now
just
on.
going to pretend like nothing happened, that was me or something.
We agreed to just not mention
I
that
just
that
didn't wanna mention
happened,
that.
but that's okay.
Well, people talking about it in the chat, so. Hit the like button if you didn't do it during the ad break. So we're talking about Josh Giddey and the concept of him maybe taking a 3-year deal, which would offer him the opportunity to get back into free agency sooner and maybe get paid big time if he does outperform a more modest average annual value figure on this upcoming deal. Rob, shout out to one of our regulars in the chat, said, or when he was referencing what Goat was talking about with Kobe and Io and these middling contracts that they've outperformed, Kobe and Io can take team discounts like Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges did. And maybe Josh Giddey, like on top of that, like, oh, well, he does this shorter term deal, he outperforms it, and maybe take a team discount.
Look,
there's a lot of different factors here, and I'm not just trying to pick on you, Rob, but like it's a fair point to bring up. That is for a team that is trying to win a championship right now. The Bulls are not.
Slap.
Also, before taking the team discounts, Mikal Bridges signed a rookie extension that banks him 4 years, $91 million guaranteed, paid. Then his team discount, $150 million guaranteed. So, you know, dude got paid.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, before his team discount deal, he signed a 4-year, $104 million deal.
Not bad.
Paid. The discount deal, another $156.5 million paid.
Cash.
Kobe and Io have not gotten anything resembling any of those 4 contracts between those two players I just rattled off.
Yeah.
So the whole team discount thing, hometown discount, no.
Yeah.
Kobe deserves to get paid. He should get paid. He's going to get paid.
Yeah.
Same thing with Io DeSumo. They haven't gotten any big paydays yet. The guys you mentioned who took hometown discounts or team discounts did so for a team that was trying to win a championship, is trying to win a championship, and they had already banked big before those contracts. Big difference.
Those are all facts. And I mean, when Brunson first went to New York, you know, getting that contract was key. Yeah, man, like they have touched the money. They have seen the money. They've got the cash. So once you have it, it's easy to take those discounts then. You're right. Io and Kobe are not in those positions to where they're just like, nah, it's cool. You can keep an extra $10 million. Absolutely not. God, no. Do not do this. Go get your money and get your paper. I think also they are the Josh Giddey comparison you brought up as far as the 3-year deal, Will, I thought was brilliant. When you were saying, man, if those guys if he outplays that contract, then, you know, he'll be up for a big deal. You know, kind of how Kobe and Io have outplayed that contract. I think for me, the difference is the contract that they're signing Giddey with is they are signing him to be the guy. and they want him to be the man. And when you signed Ayo, he wasn't signed to be the guy. And when you signed Kobe, he honestly wasn't signed to be the guy. He was signed to be a piece. And they grew, kind of within that. If Josh Giddey grows into what they think that he's going to be, I don't think the Bulls are going to have an issue trying to give him whatever he wants, as far as the check is concerned. So it's definitely a line that they're walking for sure. Like, man, he might be great. Man, he might not be. But it's a risk that I think it's okay to take right now, because if it's up and down like that, I don't think you should throw everything on one side to do that. And because, again, you got burned like really hard with this Patrick Williams deal. Not saying Patrick can't still do something. He can still come back and be a solid player or something like that. But the only contract they're giving to somebody like that to be the guy was Zach LaVine. And it didn't work out for them in any kind of way, except for what they got back. But Josh Giddey is a whole different monster. You traded your best asset to get him, and you still don't know if he's that dude. So you're still kind of figuring it out, Like, they don't want to get burned again and say, okay, we're going to go all in on it. Oh, man, damn, like we're screwed. No, you give them the 3. You say, okay, well, if you outplay that to the point that the rest of the league wants you, that's kind of the position you kind of want to be in, to be for real, because you've got a guy, if that's the concern. And I don't think the Bulls will have a problem, knowing their past, giving a guy that kind of money.
Yeah, I think that's true. I guess, it's not exactly the same as the Kobe and Ayo situation either, because like $25 million a year for Giddey, like you're going to be able to extend him at $35 million, basically is 140% of $25 million. So that's like a much more palatable deal to start your contract at. So it's like, it's not impossible that they could come to an extension agreement in 3 years if he signs at a smaller number. There's also, I don't know the exact rules, so I can check in about this, but I think there's like an implied no trade clause for guys that play on their qualifying offer. And so even though he would be like tradable, and a team who traded for him as on the $11 million qualifying offer would have his bird rights, they could pay him whatever they wanted. There's just, to me, there's like not enough upside in the short-term deal for me. Because like the upside is you're able to get off of it sooner, right? Yeah. And like, to me, that's not really upside. That's like, you have to make decisions sooner. That's like, you have to, and for me, like, I think maybe, Matt, this is like the difference about how you and I view Giddey is like, I obviously have a lot of questions about who he is as a player and what he can do. But I think I'm more open to him reaching his potential of what he can be, like the number one guy on a team, than you are. And so for me, like, if I am open to that, and I feel like there is some small chance that could happen, like I would want to get him on a really team friendly deal while I have the chance. Whereas I think you are more steadfast in your belief that like, he's just not that guy. So why pay him at all? And so that, again, I think that speaks to the idea of the qualifying offer, where you just let him play it out this year. And then, like, to me, you would have the opportunity to pay him next year, and you would have an additional 82 games to evaluate him. To me, I think he's just the kind of player that is going to have moments where he looks really good and moments where he really doesn't. And at the end of the day, he might have the same averages or slightly better, but you're not going to know much more about him in terms of his consistency, his ability to lead you on deep playoff runs, because they're not going to get there this year. So like, I just don't think that there's much of a chance that you end up with like this incredible level of confidence in who he is long-term as a player off of this 1 year. And so for me, I just want to get him on the most tradable deal possible. And to me, a tradable deal is a long-term deal with him locked in at a low number.
Yeah, so, I think you're right on trying to figure out how we feel about it. And Paul in the chat said it seems like Go is expecting Giddey to outperform whatever this impending contract is. And not necessarily that you're expecting him to do so, to play at a higher value than the dollar figure he's earning on whatever this contract is that is reportedly coming soon. But that the upside of him on a longer-term deal, if he out of the gate looks to be overperforming whatever that figure is a player who's good under team control for longer years on a smaller figure, a smaller percentage of the cap as you move forward year by year, which whether you want to keep him and have a very good piece that is affordable to play for you and win you games, or at some point down the road decide that you want to move that piece for something else, is a very tradable contract attached to said player. Like, I understand that logic entirely.
Yeah, and I think like the difference between 18 and 25 million, Patrick's number, and what potentially Giddey could get up to at this point, like, I know it's a lot of money and that it is a big number, but 25 million is 16% of the salary cap for the upcoming year. And that's only going to go down. And like, for me, that's sixth man money. That's like seventh man money.
Yeah,
and so like, I'm not saying I think Giddey is guaranteed to be a star. I think he has some of those qualities. And if he can improve, then I think that there is a path towards that. But even if he turns into one of the better six men in the league, which I think is like a very realistic low end outcome, he's still on a value deal. And so he's still somebody that you could get value for in a trade, especially as the cap continues to rise, and especially the longer you have him locked in. The one caveat I would say is that I think teams right now are just very hesitant to take on any long-term money. But I do think that there is a possibility or a chance that the really good value deals are the exception to that rule, where if you are making a lot of money on, a small amount of money on a long-term deal, like teams would be more interested in that. Teams would forego that flexibility because they're confident that you're going to exceed that value for the long term. And so for me, like, it's all about how can I get the most value out of this contract? And I think the more team friendly and the lower the number and the longer it is, like, the more upside that you have on it.
Can we ask Matt this question I saw from Christian here? I thought it was a good question. Why does Matt think Giddey-led Bulls will only be good enough to get to the play-in for the next 4 years? I'm curious why Matt is so convinced Giddey won't be better.
It's a good question.
It's a good question. Why can't they get past the play-in over the next 4 years is only partly, in my opinion, about being led by Giddey if they do continue to build around Giddey. The rest of that is, the Bulls being the Bulls. That's not on Josh Giddey. I'm not going to ever blame Josh Giddey for the Bulls being a team that is mid and happy about being mid. That's not Josh Giddey's fault. That's Josh Giddey's various bosses' fault, in my opinion. So there is that factor. I am sitting here as a surly, skeptical Bulls fan, more surly and skeptical than I've ever been. Ready to watch the Bulls play in the play-in tournament every year for the next 4 years. We're going for an 8-peat. It's going to happen, y'all. Just get on board until something drastic changes. As far as Giddey, it's been well documented, not just by me, but by anybody else that was a skeptic about how good he can be as a central piece because of certain elements of his game. We talked about it when we were talking about the Hoops Hype point guard rankings yesterday. Can he actually prove that he is a legitimate threat behind the arc, not just for a third of a season? Can you shoot 38%, on not just wide open threes like Goat was talking about yesterday, but pull-up threes, off the dribble threes? Can you create shots for yourself around the arc? Maybe, do away with some of those midi floaters that look terrible and, results are bad. And then the defense. He got played off the floor in the fourth quarter a lot for the first half of last season. It's the same reason he lost his job in OKC, as the younger players on that team got better than him. The Thunder team that had great three-point shooting and great defense to mask Giddey's flaws, and they still decided we're ready to move on from this guy. If Giddey can't thrive with that Thunder team, with those teammates, how can he be the best player on a Bulls team that goes anywhere beyond the play-in tournament? That is my skeptical thesis. Hope that answers your question.
And I think that is like a totally fair outlook on it. Like, we do have evidence that he has struggled in high leverage moments. We do have evidence that, like, the argument that, like, well, the team around him got better in OKC and so he wasn't able to thrive. It's like, that's not an argument for Giddey. That's like an argument against him. He wasn't able to be good enough to compete in that level. So I get that part, but I also think that, like,
he can get better.
Yeah, I'm open to him continuing to improve. Like, he did, and it's not just like the numbers. Like, I don't care about, what was it, 46% from three? Like, that's obviously not sustainable.
No.
But like the free throw drawing, the defensive rebound and ability to push the ball up the court, the fact that they won games, like, I know there are questions with all those things, but I feel like he showed me enough to where I'd be willing to give him a chance to continue to get better. And I'm open to that possibility. I'm not saying I think it's likely, and I'm not saying I think it's like impossible, but I'm open to that possibility because there are key things that if he improves, I do think he could be really good. I think the off the dribble 3 stuff, as I've talked about many times, is absolutely critical. Like, that's a huge part of why Halliburton is a star. He needs the ability to pull up off the dribble because that changes how teams guard him. And that even maximizes, if Giddey were able to do that, even maximizes his driving and his foul drawing and all that stuff. Like, we know the passing is there. Like, it's okay if your best player who you're running everything through is not a great defensive player. The problem is he's not a great offensive player yet. And there's things that he needs to improve on to get to that point. But I'm willing to give him time to do that. Partially because I think we have no other choice because he's going to be around, but also partially because I think he earned it. I think he played incredibly well down the stretch and showed me enough of what I feel like could be legitimate improvements that I'm willing to give him that chance. So I understand that not everybody feels that way, but I also understand that he is a flawed player and that, you know, there's no guarantees that he is going to get better just because he's younger.
Katie.
We have to take a break, but I just wanted to get a thought in. And I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I already forgot your name. I think it was Christian. Asked this question in a very kind and respectful way. Thank you for that.
Rare round here.
Very. That's why I wanted to say that I really appreciate it because it's very rare.
You're stupid.
Yeah.
Very much appreciate that. But for me, it's because it will always have to be the Giddey-led Bulls. When Giddey is on your team, it can never be another person-led team. Like, we've seen that he, at this point in his career, cannot be a second option. He just doesn't have the skill set for it. You know, that's just where we are. So it's like he is your ceiling. His talent ceiling is your team's ceiling. And based on the conversation that we had yesterday, off of a list that we did not put together, Giddey is the 15th best point guard in the NBA. So your best player is not the 15th best player in the NBA, but the 15th best player at their position in the NBA. So your team's ceiling is the 15th best point guard in the NBA.
You know what 15 is smack dab in the middle of, Katie? 30.
Yeah.
You know how many NBA teams there are?
30.
30. Mid.
This has been Math with Katie and Matt.
Mid math with Katie and Matt. We need our own spin-off show. All right, let's knock out some ads right there. We'll come back. And speaking about how good your team can be if Josh Giddey is leading it, Rick Carlisle said some interesting stuff on a podcast the other day. Does it correlate with what the Bulls are doing? What AK has said? We'll talk about that after you hit the like button.
Hey, Julia.
Today's show brought to you by Circa Sportsbook. Whatever the sport, whatever the game, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports is sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service, featuring real human beings. Fun fact, get out of here, AI. You robots, I hate ya. Give me a human to talk to. Circa's got bunches of them. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, even in-game betting, Circa Sports has it all. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. So what are you waiting for? Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 and older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You know, one thing that I have been using since I got it and has truly, truly, truly helped me out is shout out to the people at Monarch. Oh, they are awesome. I love it. It's a great budgeting app. Everyone should get this thing. It is amazing because finances can be messy and be very confusing. And Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over yourself and stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for all your accounts, investments, and your goals. Don't just manage your money, start building wealth, and you'll get 50% off your first year just to do that. You can track your spending, your savings, and your investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. Get control over your finances, ladies and gentlemen, and do that with Monarch Money. Use the code CHGO at monarchmoney.com. That's monarchmoney.com. Put that in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with that code CHGO.
We roll along, CHGO Bulls hanging out in studio on Wednesday. Peck, Big Dave, Go, and Katie bringing them figures. We are talking Giddey Watch. We will see if the Bulls and Giddey are close report is true, and if so, how close. We have an emergency pod sometime coming up in the next week or so. Dave, how would you feel if the Giddey contract breaks while you, in the near future, are off taking some time off?
Oh, I'm fine with it. I mean, if I'm available,
you won't have FOMO if we're doing an emergency podcast about Giddey's contract getting finalized?
No, if it happens and I'm able to jump on, I'll jump on for a segment, say my piece, and
look
get
at that
back
commitment,
to business, baby.
All right,
can I say one more thing about Giddey?
Please do.
You can.
I think that there's been this idea, and I've fallen victim to this in the past before too.
Oh no.
Of like when you have Giddey, everything has to go through Giddey. He needs to be like just the one that touches the ball every single possession. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, considering the fact that he struggles as an off-ball player, and that he dominates possessions. Like he gets the rebound and he pushes the ball and he runs the break, and he runs a lot of pick and roll. But I also think that like even in situations where you have like prime Russell Westbrook, prime James Harden, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, like you're maxing out at like 35% usage. Like last year, Josh Giddey post All-Star break, I'm just pulling up the numbers here, but like he dominated possessions for sure. But post All-Star break, his usage was 24.9. So, and the Bulls were succeeding in that. And Kobe had 26.5 usage during that time as well. So I think that there are ways to build a team that does well with Josh Giddey as the primary piece. It just requires you to have like incredible fit next to him at all 5 positions. Guys that can really shoot, can also score, but play off ball, can defend at a high level, can switch, are long, are athletic, can get out and run and maximize him on the offensive end, and can cover up for him on the defensive end. It requires you to have a center that can space the floor and protect the rim. Like it's really tough because it just requires you to have such a specific build. But the Bulls do have some flexibility. I don't know that they'll get it perfectly right, but they do have some flexibility to do that. And I just think that the idea that just because Giddey has high usage does not necessarily mean that he has 100% usage. So that's just something to keep in mind with, like, because I think Katie's right that like a Josh Giddey led team is going to have a certain ceiling based on who he is right now. But I think that if you maximize, and this kind of leads into our next discussion of what Rick Carlisle said, if you build the right way, if you have the right pieces around him that can make him better and make up for his weaknesses, then you can have some success in an NBA where there is so much parity. Maybe that can give you an opportunity to have, you know, some sort of a run in the playoffs.
But again, to the point, like I think again that's why I'm so excited about the season to start, because you mentioned his numbers on the usage and Kobe's, but how much did Modest, you know what I'm saying, not having a huge usage number play into that? You know, and I'm saying his will increase.
His will
plan
grow,
on
for
his
sure.
increasing in this season. And if it's not, we got other issues and we're gonna yell about it on this show. So that makes me, that's something I want to see and find out, because if it can work where Modest has a higher usage percentage as well, then okay, then it could be fine. But just from what we've seen, you know what I'm saying, and what it's been, when Josh Giddey has got the ball and he's doing his thing, that's kind of when he's at his best. And it's hard to tell somebody not to do something when they're at their best, you know?
Yeah, usage is not a perfect stat because it doesn't like account for it's basically just like did the possession end with you, whether it was a turnover or a made basket. So like setting up guys via assist doesn't necessarily count towards the usage. So if you factor that in, Giddey's usage is probably much higher. Modest had a 19.6 usage after All-Star break, which is slightly below average if you consider like 25 players, 100% usage broken up into 5. 20% would be average. But like Patrick Williams has never had a usage over 15, I don't think. So like some guys are lower usage players and some guys are higher usage players. I absolutely expect and want to see Modest create more for himself and have a higher usage. But I think he could do that even with Giddey and Kobe out there because you have guys like Io, like Trey Jones. You know, I think you got to find the right center piece in there long term, but have more 3-and-D wings that can complement those guys that can get shots up, but that don't command usage. I think that's really the key in team building. And Okoro's a great example. But like to me, he just needs to become an elite 3-point shooter to pair with his very good defense. Like he needs to become a threatening shooter to change the way defenses guard him. You can't have Giddey and like a non-shooting big. We talked about like Nick Claxton on a mini pod Like, you can't have a non-shooting big, a non-shooting ball handler, and non-shooting wings out there. You will get lapped. Like, you can't do that. So that's on all these guys to improve both on the ball and off the ball.
Yeah, true.
We shall see. We shall see. All right, pivoting to our next topic for today. This was making the rounds among NBA Twitter heads over the last day or so. And shout out first and foremost to Caitlin Cooper. If you guys aren't following her on Twitter, you should be. Read her blog, Basketball She Wrote. C2_Cooper is where you can follow and find her Twitter handle. Great Pacers writer with a blog, and has recently been making rounds on various NBA podcasts, big-time podcasts, and has now started to do her own podcasting. Great listen, great read. Check her out. She was interviewing Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle the other day, and there was a clip of it that went around Twitter of Carlisle talking about what the Pacers are doing, what they're working with, and the way the league seems to be trending. And listen closely, because it kind of sounds something like AK got roasted for not that long ago. Rick Carlisle said this while talking to Caitlin Cooper. Quote, "The NBA game has now become a play-hard league. It's not just being top-heavy with stars. Roster construction is changing. It's become more important to have more good players than be top-heavy with 2 or 3 great players that get all the touches." End quote. I mean, a lot of people on NBA Twitter over the last day or so have been saying, boy, that sounds an awful lot like what Arturas Karnisovas said at the trade deadline, which he got roasted for. Parentheses, I think rightfully so, because I still think it's nonsense. But, I see what Carlisle is saying, and I think he has a point to a point.
Yes, Matt.
And there is a very specific thing that he and the Pacers are doing. They have very good players.
Boom.
They are deep.
Boom.
The reason they made this crazy deep playoff run all the way to the NBA Finals, all the way to Game 7 of the NBA Finals, that not many people saw coming, is because they got good, deep talent. They also have 2 pretty big-time star players.
Thank you.
And Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam.
That's the point.
This Bulls, well, hey, this sounds like what the Bulls are. Like, what's the difference between the Pacers and the Bulls? And I think Carlisle's saying something smart here. Yes, to a point. Does it equate to what the Bulls are doing and what AK said when he said 9 to 10 good players is what we're looking for, as opposed to like 2 or 3 stars, mega stars on mega contracts, top heavy? Do they equate? In my opinion, no. You know what the Bulls don't have?
Tell me.
Halliburton or Siakam.
Siakam.
You know what the Bulls don't have?
Let me know.
One of the best players in the league. You kind of need that too to make a run as deep as the Pacers did. You kind of need that too to legitimately contend for an NBA championship. Can we just do a quick exercise? Just a quick exercise, y'all.
And you don't even like exercise.
Let's just go back 10 years. Fact, but I did my PT earlier today.
Shout out.
Let's just go back 10 years. The 2015 NBA Finals featuring the Warriors and Cavs. Steph Curry, first in MVP voting. LeBron James, third. Next season, same teams in the finals. Steph Curry, first in MVP. LeBron James, third. How about 2017? Let's see. LeBron James, Cavs, back there in them finals. Fourth in MVP voting. Steph Curry, sixth. Kevin Durant joining the Warriors, ninth in MVP voting. Let's see what happened in 17-18. All right, some more of them Warriors and Cavs stuff. LeBron James, second in MVP voting. Kevin Durant, seventh. Steph Curry, 10th. Need I go on? How about Kawhi? He finished ninth in MVP voting when the Raptors won the title. Who did they beat? The Warriors? Steph Curry, fifth. Every year, year by year, you go. Who are the 2 teams left standing? Who's the team who won the chip? Who was the runner-up? People with MVP caliber talent leading their deep team filled with good players and depth. In no way does that equate to what AK and the Bulls have right now, y'all, or are trying to get close to. Who is it? Raise your hand if you're the Bulls MVP candidate. Are you here? Hello? Bueller? So yes, what Rick Carlisle said makes sense. And it makes sense for his Pacers roster. That also, again, features 2 star players. In no way is this the Bulls. In zero way. Yes, you need depth. You also need an MVP caliber player leading your team through the postseason and the regular season. Anyone over the last 48 hours who has said, this sounds like the Bulls. Do we owe AK an apology? No, because they don't have an MVP caliber player. God. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I like how he just destroys her. He's like, all right, guys.
Mid-season
you
form.
go ahead. Everything you said, yes, I agree with. My main point when I first saw this was exactly what you said. Like, yeah, 9 or 10 good players, but they have 2 true stars, like, on their team. Siakam was already a champion before he even got there and was an integral part on why they were a champion. And he's clearly the second best player on their team, who in many times during that playoff run was the first best player on that team. He's also an all-star. He's also all-NBA. Like, he's awesome, man. He's the guy. And then, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, the biggest question was, is Tyrese Halliburton a superstar? Not good, not cool, not star, but superstar. So that's the question. So yes, you have to have a good team around you. I think Carlisle and AK are correct. Like, I like how Carlisle said it's now a try-hard league. Like, this is what it is. Like, guys are putting in forth their best effort, which you can have guys like TJ McConnell out there doing it, which you can have guys like my main man, Ty Jerome, which is kind of why I want to see Yugi out there. Like, the try-hard stuff, which is why Alex Caruso shines. You know what I mean? He's going to shine anyway, but it's why he shines more in this kind of era, because that's what you see. Look at OKC. There was a lot of try-hard guys on OKC, led by the MVP of the league. You know what I mean? Led by Jalen Williams, who guys right now are like, is this dude the best small forward in the NBA? Like, this is the questions that we're asking now. So you're going to need those guys. The Bulls don't have those guys yet. They're not here on the team. So building from that 9 to 10, it's something that you can do, but it's something that's much easier to do when you have that guy, and then you build around that, put around that 9 or 10 players around that superstar or star that you truly have. Like Jokic, like Denver didn't really have, in my opinion, 9 or 10 good players, but I had Jokic. So you put around what you want to put around, and we can roll. But now they got, hey, let's get Cam Johnson, who truly fits Joker. And we're like, oh, man, this could be really, really, really serious. That's the 9 or 10 guys that you're adding around him, man. I mean, there's no year you can go to where you can tell me that there wasn't a star on that team that carried them to an NBA Finals, or who was the guy of that NBA Finals.
Halliburton is the immediate most legitimate example of that, if you tried to make that argument.
Yeah.
Which is why people said, holy hell, the Pacers are in the finals?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and everybody was surprised except this handsome man right here. But I've had people bring up some old school stuff for you. Like, they brought up the Bullets versus the Sonics in 1979 when the Sonics won the NBA title. And I'm like, dude, they had Dennis Johnson. They had a Hall of Famer who was an all-star that season. And they also, and on the other side, they had Wes Unseld, who was always like in the top 10 in MVP voting when he was out there doing his thing. They won the title the previous season. So that's what they do. You know, you're going to have the guy on your squad if you're going to push and move forward. It's great to have the 9 or 10, but that's only going to take you so far. If we're talking about elevating and going farther in the playoffs, you've got to have that guy. The Knicks are an example of that. You got to have that. Bottom line, I don't mean to take your time with people, but you got to have that guy.
You're right, and we're even seeing it in the comments. Like, is Halliburton that guy? Like, I don't know if it's a chicken or egg situation, but like to me, one, the accolades and the success speaks for itself. I mean, he's been an all-star twice. He's been an all-NBA player twice. That's pretty self-explanatory. He's been on that level the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. But two, I think part of it is he's done it. He's gotten you to the finals, and that makes you that kind of player. So it's not just like only those kind of players get there, but it's once you get there, that's what kind of player you are. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is definitely a piece of it with Halliburton. But I agree that, like, while he's probably a top 15 player in the league, he's not like a, Carmelo Anthony type of I can beat you one-on-one type of player, which is I think how a lot of people still think about those player rankings. So the team is built around him. He is an all NBA caliber player, and he brings out the most in his team. And I agree with you, Matt. Like, I think that's true to a point. I do feel like AK, coming from myself included, like kind of made fun of that comment because it just
Deserved to be.
it felt that way at first, but I also think that like he was onto something. He was probably ahead of the curve in that we saw what happened in these playoffs. We saw how effort and intensity and working hard and trying hard for 48 minutes that can take you really far. And we saw that with both the Thunder and with the Pacers. We saw how depth matters. But I agree with you, Matt, that like at the end of the day, you need those things, but you also need a star player. You need a top 5, 10, at worst 15 player in the league, and you need probably multiple all-stars on your team in addition to guys that play hard for 48 minutes, in addition to good depth that a coach can play with in terms of rotations and lineups and combinations. And so to me, like the Bulls do have a very deep roster right now. They've got a bunch of guys that I think we're going to see get minutes, and then a bunch of guys that we think should be getting minutes that are going to be out of the rotation next year, probably some of the younger players, unfortunately. But like to me, the Bulls have the depth part, and it really just does come down to the star part. So even if AK was right about that, like it makes sense once you have the guy and he slots everybody else into their right spot. And the way that they're approaching things, not going after high picks in the draft, not really making big aggressive trades for all-stars, it's hard to bring in that kind of all-star caliber player if you're not really taking any of the avenues available to you to get that kind of player. And so that's the one thing. And then the other piece that I've mentioned about this before is we've seen it now. We know that teams can succeed when they play hard for 48 minutes, when they have incredible intensity, when they defend, when they shoot a lot of threes, when they get up and down, and when they have good depth. But now everybody's seen that. Everybody's onto it. Everybody's going to start to incorporate and implement that into their offense and into their defense of how they play on both sides of the ball. And like, if the Bulls' competitive advantage was playing harder and playing faster, and now every other team is playing harder and faster, are they still going to have that advantage? And that's one of the things that I'm most curious about heading into this next season is like, is the rest of the league going to pass the Bulls by in that situation? And we don't know. And I think at that point, it does come back to having the best talent available, right?
Yes,
that's how it is with like small ball, for example.
Talent
it was
wins.
like getting the most talent on the floor was the key. It wasn't necessarily about playing smaller. It was about, can you get 5 guys that can dribble, pass, shoot out there? And now that there are bigs that can dribble, pass, and shoot, we're seeing a resurgence in bigs and even 2 bigs playing together. And so ultimately what it comes down to is having the best talent on the court. And I think the Bulls are still a ways away from that.
I saw someone say that 79 finals was on tape delay because, the NBA was trash at that point, didn't have any stars. I hear that point, but they were always on tape delay. They were on tape delay until 1981.
Right.
Matter of fact,
it was what the league did.
Game 6 of the NBA Finals, when Magic as a rookie dropped 42, 15, and 7, was on tape delay. So that was just what they did at that point in time. Kudos to Magic and kudos to Larry Bird for changing, all of those things. But it wasn't because those teams were just, that just was a thing, at the NBA at that point in time. They didn't have that level of popularity even when they started getting those guys. Stuff that had to change.
Yeah. Even back in the days when the Bulls were being outdrawn by the indoor soccer team, the Chicago Sting, at the old Chicago Stadium.
Stuckey can tell you about that one.
Yeah. 2020. Kind of weird. Bubble, is where they finished that season. Lakers champions, Heat runner-up. Almost an improbable run the Heat made. Nobody saw that coming. Jimmy Butler still finished 11th MVP voting that year.
He did.
Back when he actually played a lot. LeBron James was second in MVP voting that year.
He was.
21, Bucks champions. Giannis was 4th in MVP voting that year. Runner-up, Suns. Chris Paul, 5th in MVP voting that year. 22, shout out to the champion Warriors once again. Steph Curry finished 8th in MVP voting that year. And let's see, who did they beat in 22?
22.
Celtics.
How about Jason Tatum? 6th in MVP voting that year. 23, Nuggets, champs. Joker finished 2nd behind Embiid for MVP that year. They beat the Heat. Jimmy Butler right there at 10th in MVP voting. The Celtics champions in 24. Jason Tatum, 6th in MVP voting. Runner-up, Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, 3rd in MVP voting. And there it is, y'all. The past 10 years of NBA MVP / 2 finalists in the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I agree with Rick Carlisle saying, it's not a top-heavy league like that anymore. I mean, he's correct. Just looking at what we saw is true, but still you need those guys. That will never change.
The argument has more to do with the current NBA, the collective bargaining agreement,
Sure.
the new CBA rules,
Sure.
the apron rules, all the restrictions that come with that, and the huge figures on max contracts right now against the cap and percentages of the cap. Unlike the 2024 Suns,
Yeah.
we see what happens. That's an example of putting all your eggs in a couple of players' basket, not working out, and depth being important just as much, or maybe more so, is what Carlisle's trying to say. It's all true. Where's your car going if you don't have a freaking driver?
I think people are just using this quote however they want to use it. Like, I think they're twisting it into whatever way they want to further their argument. And I think what he's actually trying to say here is that the era of like a big three is over.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's all he's saying. I don't think he's saying you can win without zero all-stars. Like, that's not at all what he's saying.
Right.
He's just saying you don't need 3 number 1 options anymore.
Yeah.
But you still need 1. You still need an all-star.
Ideally, 2.
2?
Ideally, 2.
Great. Awesome. Phenomenal. But he's not saying you can win with a bunch of role players that don't make all-star teams. Like, that is not what he's saying.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are twisting it to mean that in order to just,
Yeah, this is not.
to further their argument.
That is what AK said. And that's why he got roasted for it.
Correct.
Well, I think that part's actually up for debate. I think we're assuming that because they don't have any all-star players on their team right now, let alone all NBA players. But he said, like,
That
we need depth. We don't need 3 max players.
Right, which again,
I know that's
Carlisle
what he
making
meant.
that argument is something that is not going to get roasted because his team, he just led his team to the finals. And like, dude, did they have somebody that finished top 10 in MVP voting this season? No, but they still had 2 quality star players, and he's a coach that's getting results. A coach and or front office executive who's not getting results with their current strategy and plan, who doesn't have the star on the roster to be like, well, yeah, like that's a given. Of course you need a star, but also having 9 to 10 good players is important too, if you want to get into the semantics of the exact words and how AK phrased it.
Yeah.
But like the reason he got roasted is because he said that as if like, you might be forgetting something, sir. Who's your franchise player, man? That's the difference.
Yeah,
but
man.
I think Katie, you're right. Like what Carlisle said and what AK said can be twisted in different ways to mean different things. But yeah, you need depth.
Yes.
Perhaps the era of the big 3 is over in the NBA, largely because of contracts.
Correct.
That's fine. But I will not stand for Bulls fans trying to make the argument that what Carlisle said directly correlates to what the Bulls have, what the Bulls are trying to do, and that actually, like, yeah, well, Carlisle said this, and he just led his team to the finals. So Bulls are great. Bulls are on course.
Nah.
No,
I think it just
no,
means-
no, thank you with that take.
I think it just means they need
Not even a
Giddey
thank
to
you,
turn
just
into
no
an
with
all-star.
that take.
And they need to bring in another all-star. That's if
Yes.
you're going to say
Correct.
that that's the pathway and that that's what you want, like those are the things that need to happen
Yeah.
to me. And that's a huge ask.
Huge, colossal.
Like,
yes.
I just kind of broke down how I think like
Flex.
there's probably something in there for Giddey, but like it's still like right now. Have we talked about like the latest top 100 players or whatever in the NBA? Like,
I don't think we've
where was
gotten
he
to that
ranked
yet.
last time we did that? I don't remember, but it was probably like in the 70s, 80s, 90s area. Like he
Yeah.
needs to be in the top 15. That's a huge jump to make. And so even if there is potential for him to do that, it's a hard thing to do. There's no guarantees of it. And that's, to get one of those all-star players, not 2. So I still think, and I think as the NBA evolves, like talent it's always going to come down to who has the best talent, and that effort, trying hard, playing the right way, stylistically, all those things have to be a given in order to even start having that discussion in the same way that having the best talent is.
Yeah.
Well said.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Real quick, we'll pause the conversation there. But before we get out of here, Katie, curious to know the results of today's poll. It was a good one.
It was a good one.
Best Lunchable?
First of all, hit the like button. But yes, the poll today was
81.
what's the best Lunchable?
Yep.
I personally for lunch had turkey and cheese. So there you go.
Turkey and cheese, ham and cheese, nachos, and pizza were the options.
We have a tie.
Ooh.
We have a tie between ham and cheese and pizza. I would like to say that those are the 2 worst options, so I'm very frustrated. Third place was nachos, and fourth place was turkey and cheese. Personally, I think nachos are the best.
I voted nachos.
Birds of a
Same,
feather.
Katie. Look, is it a healthy lunch in the middle of your school day? Absolutely not. But them Lunchable nachos were delicious. And have you eaten the ham in a Lunchables ham and cheese?
Not in a very long time.
The pizza, where the crust is just like cardboard.
gross?
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
All of it's
Lunchables ham, not food.
I mean, I haven't had a
Lunchables
Lunchable since I
pizza
was
crust.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
and you both.
That's just something between like a soft, not cooked something and a stale crack. It's bad. They're bad. The
That's
Lunchables
all-
pizza's bad.
Not cook something.
Especially
Shout out.
for a self-respecting Chicagoan. Like, you can't eat that.
Get a
call
pizza.
it pizza.
Shout out to Patrick for never having a Lunchable.
Never once?
That's what he says.
Wild.
Never had a Lunchable.
Dude, try the nachos. They're not bad. All right, we'll get out of here for today. We'll be back tomorrow with another live episode for y'all. Same time, same place, 4 p.m. Central. In the meantime, follow the GOAT, Will_Gottlieb. Read his stuff, allchgo.com. Become a diehard so that you can read his stuff. The Quaff, Will_Gottlieb. Big Day, Bow, BAWL Sports. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. We are the controls, the one and only Katie Duffy.
The Fae.
Have a great night. See Red.
Duvet.
Be good.
Peace.
Rick Carlisle.
We all silly like the mayor.